The rain came down in soft, heavy sheets, the kind that wrapped the world in a hush, muting the honks of the city and the harshness of life for a moment. At a cracked bus stop on the corner of Maple and 8th, Elijah Carter stood quietly, a tall, lean black man in his late 20s, wearing a navy work jacket and worn boots, his hands tucked in his pockets, watching the rain dance on the pavement. He was used to being invisible. People rushed past him every day, never meeting his calm brown eyes, never noticing the way he would step aside so an elderly woman could sit, or how he would pick up a fallen grocery bag and hand it back with a small nod. That day, he thought it would be no different, until he saw her, a little girl, no more than 6, soaked to the bone, her blonde hair sticking to her cheeks, clutching a stuffed rabbit with one missing ear. Her wide green eyes were swollen, cheeks streaked with rain and tears, standing under the small overhang, shivering, her pink backpack slipping off her shoulders. Elijah's heart squeezed. He had seen a lot in his life: pain, struggle, loneliness, but seeing a child alone like this, in the rain, triggered a memory of his own mother's soft voice saying, "Never leave a child alone, Eli, ever." He knelt down slowly so he wouldn't frighten her, his eyes soft, his voice a quiet warmth. "Hey there, princess. Are you lost?" She blinked, clutching her rabbit tighter, eyes darting around, her lower lip trembling. My mommy didn't come. She was supposed to be here." The girl's voice was so small it was almost lost in the rain. Elijah nodded, carefully lowering himself to sit cross-legged on the wet concrete so he could be eye level with her. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily." "Well, Lily, my name's Elijah. We're gonna figure this out, okay? You're safe." Lily looked at him, uncertain, her small chest rising and falling quickly as she tried to hold back sobs. The rain drummed around them, cars swishing by, no one stopping, no one caring. Elijah took off his jacket, ignoring the cold, and gently wrapped it around Lily's small shoulders. She smelled like rain and soap and fear, and it made something protective and raw rise in Elijah's chest. "Is it okay if I sit here with you until your mom comes?" he asked gently. She nodded, a small hiccup escaping her lips. They sat there in silence, Elijah's broad frame shielding her from the wind, his large hand gently patting her trembling back. The bus came and went, and still, no one came for Lily. "Do you know your mom's phone number?" Elijah asked, trying to keep his voice light. Lily sniffled and shook her head, hugging the rabbit closer. Elijah's mind raced. Calling the police would scare her, but he needed to do something, so he did the only thing he could think of. He told her a story. "You know, when I was about your age, waiting for someone kind to find us." Lily's eyes filled again, but she leaned into Elijah, resting her small head against his shoulder. "You're kind," she whispered. Elijah's throat tightened, but he managed a small chuckle, patting her head gently. "I try, princess. I try." Minutes turned to an hour, and finally, a frantic woman in scrubs came running across the street, tears streaming down her face. "Lily! Oh my God, Lily!" Lily jumped up, the jacket slipping off her shoulders, and ran to her mother, who fell to her knees, hugging her tightly. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Mommy's car broke down. I'm so sorry." Elijah stood, quietly picking up his jacket, ready to slip away unnoticed as always. But Lily turned, her green eyes bright despite the rain. "Mommy, that's Elijah! He stayed with me!" The mother looked up, her eyes meeting Elijah's, her lips trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much. I don't know what would have happened." Elijah nodded, his lips lifting in a small, warm smile. "It's okay. I'm glad she's safe." Lily let go of her mother and ran back, wrapping her tiny arms around Elijah's legs in a quick, fierce hug before running back to her mother. Elijah watched as they walked away, Lily turning to wave, the rain washing over her small, waving hand. Elijah turned, pulling his jacket back on, the cold seeping in, but somehow, it didn't feel so heavy that day. He didn't know that the little girl with the green eyes and the stuffed rabbit would remember him. He didn't know that 15 years later, she would come looking for him. But the world has a way of bringing hearts back together, especially when kindness is all someone remembers. 15 years had a way of passing both slowly and all at once. The city had changed, its skyline clawing higher into the clouds, its streets louder, its people moving faster. But some memories didn't fade with time, they simply found a quiet place to wait until you were ready to find them again. For Lily Carter, now 21, that memory was the warm safety of a bus stop in the rain, the quiet hum of a kind man's voice telling stories, and the feeling that even when the world felt terrifying, there was someone who would sit with you in the storm. She had never forgotten him. Lily's life had taken her through foster homes, temporary shelters, and cheap apartments with leaky roofs. Her mother, despite her love, had struggled, falling into addiction and disappearing one night when Lily was 13, leaving her clutching that same one-eared rabbit, waiting by the window. But Lily survived. She learned to navigate the system, learned to smile when people doubted her, learned to fight for scholarships, and clawed her way into college. Every moment she felt alone, she remembered the warmth of that day, the calm in the chaos, the quiet man with the soft brown eyes who told her she was safe. Now, as she sat in the corner of a campus cafe, a steaming cup of cheap coffee between her hands, she searched. She had spent weeks going through old city records, asking about Elijah Carter. Every street contact she had, every old neighbor, every shelter staff member who might remember him. She didn't even know if he was still in the city. She didn't even know if he was alive. But she knew she needed to find him, because she owed him something, and because she needed to tell him that his kindness had saved her in more ways than he could ever understand. As she scrolled through the database on her cracked laptop, her heart thudded when she finally found a name and an address. Elijah Carter, age 43, custodian, Brooklyn Community Center. She stared at the screen, tears pricking her eyes, a smile spreading across her lips. He's still here. The next morning, the air was crisp, autumn leaves swirling around her feet as she stepped off the bus, her rabbit now carefully tucked into her bag, a small piece of her childhood she had never let go. The community center was small, bricks chipped, windows clean, with the soft hum of life echoing through its halls as children laughed inside. She took a deep breath and stepped in. A receptionist looked up. "Can I help you?" I'm looking for Elijah Carter." The woman smiled, nodding. "You'll find him in the gym. He's always there early, making sure everything's ready for the kids." Lily walked through the narrow hallway, the scent of cleaning supplies and old wood mixing with the laughter of children running by. She turned the corner and froze. There he was. Elijah was older now, his hair peppered with gray, his shoulders broader, but carrying the same quiet strength she remembered. He was sweeping the gym floor, pausing occasionally to fix a loose board near the basketball hoop, humming softly under his breath. Lily felt her throat tighten, tears welling up, memories flooding back. The rain, the warmth of his jacket, the soft rumble of his voice calling her princess. She stood there, clutching her rabbit, unable to move. Elijah looked up, sensing someone's eyes on him. His brown eyes met hers, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lily took a step forward, her voice trembling. Do you remember a little girl at a bus stop 15 years ago?" Elijah's eyes softened, recognition dawning, a small warm smile breaking across his face. "You're Lily, aren't you?" She nodded, tears falling freely now as she clutched the rabbit to her chest. "I never forgot you," she whispered. Elijah put the broom down, his eyes misting as he walked toward her, gently pulling her into a hug that felt like coming home. "You grew up strong," he said softly. "I'm so glad you found me." Lily pulled back, laughing through her tears. I promised myself that one day I would find you. I wanted to thank you. You saved me that day, Elijah. You made me believe the world could be kind. Elijah shook his head, humility in his eyes. I just did what anyone should have done, Lily. But you did it, she insisted. You made me feel safe. I needed that so much. They sat on the gym bleachers as the sun streamed in through the dusty windows, Lily telling him everything she had been through, everything she had fought for, everything she had become. Elijah listened quietly, pride shining in his eyes, nodding occasionally, his hands folded, his presence as calm as it had been that rainy day. I'm graduating next year, Lily said, her voice trembling with emotion. I got into social work. I want to help kids who feel alone, like I did, because of you. Elijah blinked back tears, a proud smile breaking through. You're going to change the world, Lily. She reached into her bag and pulled out the rabbit, placing it in his hands. I want you to have this, she said softly. It's what kept me strong when I was alone. Elijah held the worn, one-eared rabbit, his hands trembling. No, princess, he said gently, handing it back. You keep it. It's your strength. Lily hugged it to her chest, tears streaming as Elijah placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. The world outside kept turning, cars driving by, people rushing to work. But in that moment, at that small community center, two souls who had met once in the rain were reunited, proving that kindness can echo across years, and that sometimes the people we save end up saving us too. Elijah Carter had never been a man of many words, but his quiet presence filled spaces in ways that loud voices never could. After Lily found him at the community center, something shifted, not just in her heart, but in Elijah's world as well. The next few weeks became a ritual. Lily would finish her classes and head to the community center, sitting in the corner of the gym with her laptop while Elijah swept the floors, fixed loose boards, and helped kids with their basketball drills. She watched how the children would run to him, trusting him with their laughter, their scraped knees, their stories about school and dreams. To them, Elijah was not just a janitor. He was a guardian, a gentle guide, a steady rock in a world that sometimes felt too chaotic for small hearts to understand. One rainy afternoon, similar to the day they first met, Lily brought coffee and sandwiches to share. They sat on the bleachers, the scent of wet pavement drifting in through the open gym doors, the distant sound of dribbling basketballs echoing. Elijah, Lily said softly, wrapping her hands around the warm cup, why do you do this? Why do you stay here, day after day, helping these kids, cleaning these floors? Elijah looked out toward the court, his eyes soft but distant. When I was young, I had no one, he said quietly. I grew up in the system too, foster homes, shelters, the streets. People looked at me and saw what they wanted to see, a troubled black boy with no future. No one ever stayed, no one ever listened. He paused, swallowing hard, the memory heavy. I promised myself that if I made it out, I would become the person I needed back then. Someone who stays, someone who listens. Lily felt tears prick her eyes, the weight of his words sinking deep into her soul. You kept your promise, she whispered. Elijah turned to her, a gentle smile on his face. And you're keeping yours too, Lily. You're going to help so many kids. A quiet bond formed between them, like threads of light weaving through old wounds, slowly stitching them closed. One evening, the community center hosted a small fundraiser to keep the programs running. The gym was decorated with paper lanterns and handmade banners by the children, their laughter filling the space as volunteers set up tables of food and crafts. Lily stood beside Elijah at the entrance, greeting guests. She noticed how people would smile and nod at Elijah, but many passed him by, not seeing the quiet hero standing beside them. She leaned in, whispering, "They don't know how important you are here." Elijah chuckled softly. "That's not why I'm here, princess." She looked at him, studying the lines on his face, the softness in his eyes, and felt a wave of gratitude for the way he made her feel seen, safe, and valued when she was just a scared child clutching a rabbit in the rain. That night, as the fundraiser wound down, Lily took the small stage in the gym, her heart pounding. "I wasn't planning to speak tonight," she began, her voice trembling, "but I need to." She scanned the room, finding Elijah leaning against the wall, arms crossed, a soft, proud smile on his face. 15 years ago, I was a lost little girl, alone at a bus stop, scared and cold. A man I didn't know sat beside me, told me stories, and made me feel safe until my mother came. That man was Elijah Carter. The room fell silent, eyes turning toward Elijah as he shifted uncomfortably, humility flushing his cheeks. "I wouldn't be here today without him," Lily continued, tears shining in her eyes. "He didn't just help me, he gave me hope when I needed it most. And he's done that for countless kids in this community, every single day, without asking for anything in return." She paused, breathing deeply. "I wanted you all to know the kind of man you have here. And I wanted you, Elijah, to know that you've changed my life. You've shown me what it means to care, to stay, to fight for others. And I promise I will carry that forward." Elijah's eyes glistened, and he quickly looked down, brushing a tear away with the back of his hand. The room erupted in applause, and for a moment, Elijah stood still, taking it in, allowing himself to feel seen. The weeks that followed brought Lily and Elijah even closer. They spent afternoons painting the rec room, reading to the children, and planning small community projects. Elijah taught Lily how to fix a leaking pipe and patch a wall, while Lily helped him navigate the computer system to apply for additional grants to support the center. One day, as they sat outside on the community center steps, the warm breeze rustling the leaves above them, Lily turned to Elijah. "Elijah, have you ever thought about telling your story? About sharing everything you've been through to inspire others?" Elijah sighed, looking up at the sky. "I've thought about it," he admitted, "but I don't know if people would want to hear it." Lily reached over, placing her hand on his. "They need to hear it," she said firmly. "They need to know that kindness matters, that one moment of compassion can change someone's life." Elijah looked at her, the corners of his lips turning up in a soft smile. "Maybe you're right," he said quietly. Lily squeezed his hand, determination in her eyes. "We'll do it together." They began small recording videos on Lily's old phone, sharing stories of the children at the community center with permission, and the small miracles that happened every day. Elijah's calm voice, filled with wisdom and quiet strength, resonated with people in ways neither of them had expected. Donations began to pour in, volunteers started showing up, and local businesses offered support. The community center began to thrive, expanding programs and reaching more children in need. Through it all, Elijah remained the same, quiet, steady, present, and Lily, once a scared little girl in the rain, now stood beside him as a strong, determined young woman ready to change the world with him. The community center, once a small, struggling building, became a sanctuary of hope, laughter, and healing. Children found safety there, families found support, and a neighborhood that had once felt forgotten found new life. And at the heart of it all was Elijah, the quiet man who believed that kindness mattered, and Lily, the girl who never forgot the man who once told her stories in the rain. Snow was falling softly over the small community center as Lily stepped inside, clutching a file of papers against her chest. The warmth inside smelled like crayons, cocoa, and hope, a stark contrast to the cold world outside. Children were laughing near a coloring table, and there, helping a little boy tie his shoelaces, was Elijah. His quiet strength hadn't changed in 15 years, but the lines near his eyes told stories of sleepless nights spent protecting this place. Lily felt her throat tighten as she watched him ruffle the boy's hair with a gentle smile. The same smile he had given her at that bus stop when she was scared, alone, and cold, clutching her pink backpack. "Elijah," she called softly. He turned, his eyes lighting up with that warmth that once made a lost little girl feel safe. "Lily, I'm here to help you," she said, lifting the papers, her voice trembling, but her eyes clear. "We're not letting them take this place. Elijah's eyes glistened as he nodded, his hand brushing over the papers, grounding himself in the promise they had both carried for so long. The fight for home. The city wanted to tear the community center down, to build another glass tower where children's laughter would be replaced by silence. Marcus, once Elijah's friend, now a polished developer, had come with his lawyers, convinced money could erase memories. But Elijah and Lily stood firm. Inside the courtroom, Lily stood tall in her simple black suit, her hands shaking slightly as she spoke of what this place meant to the community. She spoke of mothers who found shelter, of children who found safety, of how Elijah had stood by them all. Elijah watched her, pride and quiet emotion mixing in his chest, remembering that little girl at the bus stop who once asked him if she would ever be safe again. Now, she was fighting for the safety of others. When Marcus took the stand, the confidence in his voice was undercut by the pictures Lily placed before the judge. Smiling children with crayons in hand, mothers holding newborns wrapped in blankets, families who found hope inside those worn brick walls. The courtroom fell silent as Elijah stood, speaking quietly of what home meant, his deep voice filling the space without ever needing to shout. "This place," he said, pausing to look at Lily, "isn't just a building. It's the promise I made to a scared little girl a long time ago, and to every child who comes here scared, hoping they'll be okay." The verdict. The judge leaned back, eyes sweeping the courtroom. Lily held her breath, Elijah's hand brushing against hers, a silent reminder that they had done everything they could. And then the words came. The injunction was granted. The demolition was stopped. An investigation into the city's corruption would proceed. Lily gasped, tears welling as relief washed over her, and the entire room seemed to exhale. Elijah closed his eyes, a quiet smile breaking across his face. They had saved the community center. They had kept their promise. A promise fulfilled. That evening, the community center was alive with laughter. Children chased each other between tables, parents shared stories, and volunteers served cocoa in chipped mugs. Lights strung along the windows flickered softly, casting a warm glow on faces filled with hope. Lily stood by the door, watching Elijah help a small girl with her coat, tying the zipper carefully, his quiet strength never wavering. The girl looked up at him, her eyes wide, asking softly, "Are we safe now?" Elijah looked at Lily, then back at the girl, his voice warm and certain. "Yes, you're safe now." As the children danced and played, Lily stepped closer, leaning her head on Elijah's shoulder. He turned to her, a quiet gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you for keeping your promise," she whispered. Elijah smiled softly. "We kept it together." They stood there side by side, surrounded by the sounds of laughter and hope, proof that sometimes the smallest moments, a granola bar shared on a cold day, a quiet voice telling a scared child they will be okay, become the seeds of hope that change everything. And that night, under the glow of the lights and the warmth of community, Lily and Elijah knew they had fulfilled the promise that started 15 years ago at a lonely bus stop, showing the world that kindness and courage, even in silence, can change lives forever.